One of my favorite things in the world to do is watch Friends. I know it's been off for years and years. It's not even around, but I still find myself binge watching old episodes. And I was thinking about this today and thinking, it's the predictability of the friends in the circle, right? You have Chandler with his quirkiness, Monica with her type A of just everything has to be so neat and tidy and organized. It's Phoebe's ability to make you laugh at her silly songs. Ross always comes in with those smart comments, and Joey and him and his food, like it is just so hilarious. And of course, Rachel, she just brings everybody together, and it's just such this beautiful, cohesive team of people. And it's why I wanted to come on and share with you today that I have an opportunity for you to find your friends in the content creation space. So if you are thinking about creating your first or your next digital course, I don't want you to miss this opportunity because Amy Porterfield just opened the doors for registration for her Course Confident Bootcamp. And I'm actually offering a special bonus for anyone that registers for the Course Confident Bootcamp through my special link. So I want you to go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register. That's crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And what you're going to find when you get there is I have this special bonus private podcast series. It's called Money Mindset for Creators. So I want you to go register for Amy's bootcamp, download the podcast, and immediately start listening to it, because what this training is set up to do is to help you get your mind right about monetizing your content, making money so that you can fuel your content creation dreams. So go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register for Course Confident. And I cannot wait for you to find your friends and find the people that will be there for you. Do you see what I did there? Yeah, nice little friends segue connection. Go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And I cannot wait to see you inside. Okay, let's get into today's episode. Oh my gosh, y'all. Today's topic is literally something that I could talk about for hours and hours and hours. And that is planning content. So in the last episode, I told you that we did 31 days of podcasting in August. Well, today's episode is another Facebook Live that I did that was just talking about planning content and how do you create content and where do the ideas come from and how can I hear a lot of people say that are brand new to podcasting or they're thinking about starting a podcast. They say, well, I'm so afraid I'm going to run out of ideas. And I get it. Like I had the exact same feeling when I first started. But man, once you get going, you realize that the possibilities are truly endless, no matter the niche, no matter your industry. I don't care what it is that your podcast is about. I promise you, I could help you come up with some ideas. So I'm excited for you to listen to this live that we did about planning content, and be sure to grab, if you don't already, I'll link to this in the show notes, but I have a free download that is amazing and will totally help you plan content. And that is 500 plus podcast ideas for any industry. So I will link to that in the show notes. That way, it'll just kind of jumpstart you for your content planning over the next few weeks, months, year, whatever it is. But I highly, highly recommend you plan your content out well in advance, and I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. So let's get right to it. Welcome to the Profit Podcast, where we teach entrepreneurs how to start, launch, and market their podcast. I'm your host, Crystal Profit, and I'm so excited that you're here. Thanks for hanging out with me today, because if you've been thinking about creating a podcast for a while, well, I'm so glad you found this show. Think of this as the shortcut / time-saving version of searching Google and YouTube for hours and hours trying to figure out the world of podcasting. Trust me, as a busy mama of 3, I get it. You don't have a lot of time to be spent or wasted, I should say, searching the web, trying to find all the right ideas and all the amazing things that are out there, and you just end up overwhelmed. Trust me, I've been there, done that, took home the souvenir. But this podcast is going to help you in practical ways because twice a week we'll be delivering episodes that are going to give you steps to help you create a podcast your audience can't wait to listen to. So let's get right to it, shall we? Have you been wanting to start a podcast? You've been thinking about it. It feels right. You just know this is the next thing that my business needs. Well, I encourage you to sign up for my 5-day podcast bootcamp. This is a thing that you have been looking for. It is a 5-day video series where I walk you through exactly how to start, launch, and market your podcast, and I throw in some more information about planning strategies and being consistent and how you can make the most out of your podcast from day one. So sign up for our 5-day Create Your Podcast Bootcamp at crystalprofit.com/podcast bootcamp. And do it already. You know that you've been wanting to, so just bite the bullet and join us. There are only a few days left to join Profit Podcasting. So if you've been wanting to create your podcast and you feel like you need a guide, you need someone to show you exactly step by step how you can get started, how you can launch your podcast, how you can market it, how you can do interviews, how you can do solo shows, how you can monetize, how you can grow, like all of the things, then this is the time to join us. This is the course that you have been looking for. And if you've enjoyed this podcast or you've been hanging out with us on social media, enjoying live videos, whatever, like you are going to love this course because I just show up as myself, y'all. I'm not trying to be a polished version of anything that I am. I just show up and I tell you like it is. I'm sharing with you all of the amazing things that I've learned from other people in the last 6 months. And of course, I'm sharing with you all the mistakes that I've done in the last year of podcasting. I'm going to share you just all the behind the scene things of things that I've messed up, lessons learned, mistakes I don't want you to make, just all of it. So if you're interested in joining us, then head on over to profitpodcasting.com. And if you're listening to this well after this originally airs, then you can join the wait list at crystalprofit.com/podcast course. But okay, let's go right into the Facebook Live I did all about content planning for 31 days of podcasting. Hey everyone, I hope that y'all are having a fabulous week. Oh my gosh, today I'm so excited. Okay, so let me just first of all say this. If you are brand new to our community or if you're just joining us today, if this is the first time you're seeing this, we are in the middle of 31 days of podcasting. So for the entire month of August, we're talking about podcasting every single day. So if this is your first time to see any of this, then I encourage you, there is a videos tab in the group and you can go back and watch all the other 7 videos that we have done because we're on day 8. So if you're just not joining us, it's okay. It won't take you long to catch up. But I want to talk about planning content because this is something, I have a few things to share with you. I want to tell you what I used to do. I want to tell you what I do today. And I want to give you like the bigger picture. And like there's 4 steps that I want to give you. Like we're getting practical advice today on planning content because this is something that I think I do really well. And the reason why I do it really well is because I did it really bad for a long time. Like I talked, I don't remember if it was on day 5 or 6, but it was about being very reactive to a lot of things. So that is a common theme with, I think with anything really. If you get started and you're just kind of in that survival mode, you don't really know what's going on, like you're just very reactive to things and it's not sustainable. So today I want to talk about specifically planning content. Hi, Melanie. I'm so happy that you're here. We are just getting kind of caught up on what's been going on, and we're about to deep dive into planning some content because, oh my gosh, like I'm actually embarrassed of how I used to function planning content because it was just so like, I see now why I was getting burned out, why I was so stressed out with the podcast and just trying to keep up with everything when I first started. It was just so, I'm trying to think of a different word, but reactive is the best word that I can think of because I was just like, oh crap, it's Tuesday. I have to do this. Oh no, it's Thursday. I have to do that. Like it was every single day I was freaking out about what needed to happen the next day. And it was just Groundhog Day, like on the hamster wheel, just freaking out every day. And I'm just like, this is not sustainable. This is not fun when it's supposed to be. And this is not going to work for me. So with that being said, let me tell you some of the things that I used to do when it comes to podcast content planning. So like I said, I was reactive. That's like my first bullet point. So I knew why I had this top of mind. I was just very reactive. I would plan one episode at a time. I would literally sit down. Okay, I'm going to do this episode. And then next time it was like, okay, I'm going to do this episode. Then the next week, I'm going to do this episode. And it was just, what are you doing, bub? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Sorry. We have a child at the door. I'm trying to figure out what's going on, who's trying to come in my house, but we're good. It's just a neighbor. Summer's almost over, y'all. I'm going to make it. Just 2 more weeks. We can do this. We can make it. But anyway, it was just very like, okay, I have to plan. I'm going to do this. And it was just very, I'm trying to, like silly sentences are just popping in my head. Loosey-goosey and wishy-washy. Like I feel like my grandma is in my head right now, like telling me to say these things. But that's how it was. And I would just wait until ideas came to me. Like I would literally sit around like someone sitting around in their fancy library, just like chewing on their glasses, like, what would I like to talk about today? You know, this was a terrible strategy because I never once forced myself to sit down and think outside of just what needs to happen today, right now, this week. I never did. And so, yeah, I don't want to dwell, like that's in the past. We're not going to dwell on that. And that is not what you're going to do for your podcast either. You are going to plan ahead. You're going to plan strategically, and you're going to make it fun because that's the only way to keep going. Because y'all, when you start a podcast, it's just like anything else. I want you to have a long-term goal. So a great example is working out, right? Maybe you have a goal to, get back in shape, lose a dress size, like whatever it is. But then once you hit that, then what happens? You stop working out, like, okay, well, I hit my goal. So I'm done. I'm satisfied. Well, you're probably going to go back to eating, chips and salsa at every meal and eating those enchiladas when you go out. Oh my gosh, y'all, if you can't tell, I've got Mexican food on the brain. And I had like a Mexican bowl thing for lunch. So it was delicious, but it's not something I can eat all the time because I know I'm going to gain weight, and that's fine, like to be aware of that. But you just need to know that long term, I know I have to work out. I know that I need to, be balanced in how I take care of myself and my body and what I eat and getting enough sleep and everything, because I have this long-term goal of how I want to physically feel. So I want you to have the same thing. Oh my gosh. I got the 3-year-old. He's coming in. Come on. Your brothers are supposed to be entertaining you. Yeah, Melanie. You love tacos. I love tacos. Well, come on in. Come on. Let's just get this over with. Y'all, I've literally been in my office for probably 2.5 hours. Never comes in. We've been here for 6 minutes, and he comes banging on the door. Come on, let me in. I'm like, I don't know if it's the light in here. I don't know if he hears me talking, because when I'm sitting in here, I'm usually not talking to myself all the time. Hang on one second. Come on, bub.
Mommy.
Yes. Come on. Come on.
Mommy,
Just come on in.
Mommy.
Come on, join the conversation.
Mommy.
Yes.
Mommy.
I'm listening to you.
Let's talk to you.
I'm listening to you.
No, let's talk to you.
This is my life.
Mommy is talking to you.
I'm listening, son.
I'm gonna watch Larva.
Being a woman in business comes with its own unique set of challenges, but also so many opportunities. We get ahead by leaning in to what makes us different from business as usual. I'm Samantha Hartley, host of Profitable Joyful Consulting, inviting you to a special 6-episode series exploring the experience of being a woman in business. You want to hear from women consultants who've hit $1 million, who sell 6-figure engagements, or who've broken their own revenue ceilings? Yeah, those are my clients, and they'll be sharing too. Join me for 6 must-listen episodes that tackle key challenges for women consultants. Follow Profitable Joyful Consulting on your favorite podcast app.
Okay, go ask Nicholas to turn it on for you. Nicholas will turn it on for you. Go ask him.
Look at me.
Oh my gosh. Go ask Nicholas to turn it on for you. Now I've got the dog in here. He's probably going to start snorting. Okay, anyway, back to what we were talking about. I would say I'm sorry, but this is my life, and I can't apologize for my life and all the chaos because I know it's ending in 2 weeks, okay? Like in 2 weeks from now, it's just going to be peace and quiet. It's going to be awesome. Now the dog's trying to get out. So let's go back. Okay, we talked about the past, what we did, what we ain't going to do anymore, right? Now we're going to talk about what I do today. So I consistently, oh my gosh, y'all, this is so crazy. So I have Google Docs, Google Drive, and Google Docs, and Google Sheets. Like I got all the Google stuff on my phone, right? So if I go into Google Drive, I have a little Google Drive app on my phone. There is, so it's a Google Sheet. So it's a Google Sheet that I keep, but I have it right here. It is literally the Profit Podcast calendar. So you can see, like, this is how I have everything. This is my content calendar. And I have it split up by quarter because months is too much, but then I didn't want to do it like for the whole year. I wanted to see it by the quarter. So when I plan stuff, I do it quarterly, or if I have more ideas, then I'll do it that much. And I'm actually going to show you my editorial calendar probably tomorrow. I'm going to actually like do a screen share and show you everything that I do. But what I want to show you is, hang on, now I got to find it. It's taking me a second. I have content ideas. Okay. So I have, it's kind of hard to see, but you can see like I have a running, why is my phone? There it goes. Like it's not moving. Okay. This is my running list of ideas that I have. And now you have to have an internet connection for this to work. But you could also, if you have Android, I'm sure you have something very similar. You can open up your notes tab. Keep it simple, right? We don't need anything fancy. Or, you could use a note card, a Post-it, sticky note. That's what I was trying to say. Or let's get even fancier. You could use a sheet of paper and leave it. You could use a whiteboard. I have my whiteboard. You can use you love that? I write this so big. Brain dump. It's like, it's the worst name ever, but it cracks me up every time. Y'all, I'm a plumber's daughter, okay? I have some pretty crude humor. If you've known me for a long time, you know this about me. But so when I think of brain dump, it cracks me up every time. But I mean, you don't have to get fancy with your content ideas. But what I want you to do is on a pretty regular basis, I want you to be writing down those questions that people are asking you. Or if you see something, I do this all the time. I either do like a screenshot in a Facebook group of somebody's question. Did y'all know that if you're in Facebook, you can actually save a post? You can like hit the ellipses at the top. So if you're hanging out in a group where a lot of your audience hangs out or your potential audience, you can click the ellipses button on that specific post and save the whole thing. I can't even tell you how many times I've done this with when people have equipment questions and people that are way more knowledgeable about this than me, they give them all these fancy, like, oh, you should try this condenser and this mixer, and have you tried to hook this up to this? And I'm like, they're speaking a different language, y'all. Totally different language, way higher level, fancier than me, but I save it because then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back and look at that when someone else asks me about a question. I feel more knowledgeable, or I know to tell them who to go ask. Like, I don't know the answer to this question, but go ask this guy because he's an audio engineer and he can help you out. So I don't care where you save your ideas, but you need to have a constant running list. And it's as simple as just listening to your audience. Or if you say, I don't have an audience, I actually haven't even launched my podcast. Well, who do you want your audience to be, right? Like, I used to have a podcast about female entrepreneurs, right? It was all about motivation and inspiration and trying to, be the best version of yourself. Well, I wrote down 20 ideas of what does this ideal woman that I want to listen to my podcast, what does she struggle with? It was personal organization. Like, I talked to a personal home organizer, because if she's listening to this podcast, she's going to want to have her home organized. I talked to an interior decorator that could give us practical tips. Sorry, my dog just made a really weird noise. That could give us practical tips on how we can rearrange our homes to make them feel awesome and like just make them feel homier with like a really limited budget. We're not talking about coming in and redesigning everything. I'm talking about very just practical tips. And I knew once I started thinking about who are the people that I know in my life that know how to do this, then the ideas just started flowing. And I cannot stress enough that the number one priority for you in creating content should be what will add value to my audience. Because it doesn't matter what you want to talk about necessarily if your audience doesn't care about it. There's been several times, y'all, I've had some really, really bad episodes where I'm pretty sure, like in my Buzzsprout account where I look at all my statistics, it'll tell me how many people have listened, but it doesn't tell you how long they've listened. So I write poetry. This is something I do on the side. This is like a creative outlet for me. I haven't done it in a while, but I think it was for at least a year straight, an entire year. I wrote probably a 2-minute poem. That's about how long it would take. Probably not even that long. Like it would take you maybe a minute to read it. I wrote these every single day and I posted them on Facebook. And so when I started my podcast, I was like, oh, I need to share those because people are just going to love them and they're going to think I'm so silly. And they're going to, crickets, guys, crickets. But I thought they were fun. I thought that, and you can actually still go back and listen to the episode. It's still there. But, I was throwing ideas out there. I don't want you to just throw stuff out because you love it. I want you to create content because your audience either wants it, they need it, or you're solving their problems. Or even if you're just trying to entertain them, make sure they want to hear that, because this was a podcast about entrepreneurship and encouragement. And here I am reading about cows in a pasture from one day when I was taking my kids to school. And I just thought it was the funniest thing. Nobody cared. Nobody else cared about what I had to say. So just make sure that you are keeping your audience in mind and how you can add value to them. Okay, so now I want to give you some tactical tips for actually planning content. And like I said, tomorrow I'm actually going to go in and show you my editorial calendar and how I do all this. So once I have, let's say this piece of paper was full of ideas. And if you're only publishing once a week and you're past the launch phase, 20 ideas can be potentially 5 months worth of podcast. Like, think about that for a second. Are there 20 topics that you can think of that your audience needs to hear about? 20, because that'll give you 5 months, and then you don't have to plan again for 5 months. Like, you're done until probably that last month. You're like, oh, I need to come up with some more ideas. And I'm not talking about sitting down and planning everything, like the whole outlines, recording it, editing. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just the idea. Like, for example, today, this was an idea for me, planning content. and I put it on the calendar as this is what I was going to talk about today, but I didn't actually write a whole outline for what I was going to say until earlier this morning. It's like, oh, I want to jot down some ideas, make sure we stay on track, but just have the idea. So first and foremost, this is step number 1. Decide how often you're going to publish. That's the first thing you need to know. Are you going to publish once a week, twice a week, 5 days a week, every single day? I mean, from someone who's gone from 1 episode a week to 2, I really want you to think about it before you commit to doing anything more than 2. Because I had a student of mine who was doing 5 days a week when she first started. She was gung-ho, she was committed. I'm going to do 5 days a week. I think it lasted for the first month of her podcast, which was amazing because, I mean, she had 20 episodes after her first month, whereas someone like me who only did it once a week at the beginning, I would only had 4 or 5. She had 20 after her first month of podcasting. But she also was like, oh, I'm done. I'm so done. I talked to her a month too, and she's like, this was too much. I don't think this is sustainable. And she dropped down to just doing 1 a week. So just know a great place to start is at least once a week. Once a week. You don't have to be Superwoman, Superman, but you do have to commit to when you're going to publish. And we can talk about the actual best days to publish and everything on another day. But for now, just know how often you're going to publish. Then I want you to take all of these ideas and organize them in some sort of calendar. So I'll post a link to a few suggestions that I have. I use my Google Calendar. So I use my spreadsheet, right? My Google Sheet. And then I put those into an actual calendar. That way I know when that day comes, like I can look for the week when I'm doing my time blocking and my planning, then I can actually see this is what's coming up this week. This is how I need to make sure I'm doing my marketing. I'm doing this. And it just helps just kind of see everything else strategically. But you definitely want to have something in place for a calendar. So you can do Trello. I never know how to say that. It's Trello, and I'll link to it. But Trello is another good one. And then Asana is something I recently started playing with, and I like it a lot. It's kind of fancier. These are all free, by the way. These are all free tools. Y'all know me. I'm all about those free resources. These are all free. There are paid versions of all of these, but I prefer my Google Calendar and Asana for, I use Asana to plan my whole 31 days of podcasting. So it's great. And then, so that's number 2, take all of your ideas and put them into some sort of calendar. And then the third thing that I have is actually planning your episode. So if you are working, let's say you're batch recording, I used to do 2 to 3 episodes at a time. And then recently I started doing a lot more in one sitting. I'm doing like 3 to 4, maybe over 2 days, as opposed to just 2 or 3 in one day. And it helps me. It's what works for me. But I want you to sit down and actually plan your episodes, create outlines. And y'all, there's great templates. If you use Google Docs, you can just go into a template and use something that they have. You don't have to get fancy. I used one of their templates. I don't even remember what it was called. I think it was called like meeting notes or something. And I used that template to help me stay organized. And then every single time when I go plan a new one, all I do is I make a copy and I create a brand new episode outline, because then all the stuff that's already in there that I like to say in every episode, it's already there. I don't have to do it again. I don't have to type anymore. And I'm just filling in the blanks of what my actual outline is. So Melanie says Trello, is it Trello? Trello, I don't know. Is great for brainstorming. Asana is great for task management, and she loves them both. Yes, if you have a big project going on, like I would use Asana for your podcast launch plan, because that is just so good to see like the high level big picture. Like, okay, I'm going to promote this on social media. I'm going to send it to my email list. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Asana is really good for doing that kind of stuff. And then Trello, I like it because of the cards, the way that it's laid out almost like in stacks. Like you have and you can just drag it like, whoop, okay, this is It's more like a Kanban board. And I think I'm going to talk about that one day because I've had a few people ask. I have a Kanban board over here, but it's an actual, like, it's on my whiteboard. And I love that because I'm a visual person and I like to see that every day. Like, I like to take an actual sticky note and move it to the next column. So I'm old school like that. But okay, she says it's Trello. Okay. I mispronounce everything. So let's just, it's better than, yeah, I was going to make fun of my own accent and I'm not going to do it because I would butcher that somehow too. So, okay. So that's the third step is planning episodes. So create your outline and then just make a copy of it every time and just do the same one every single time you do an outline. And when I go to, we're real here, right? Like, this is full transparency. When I'm doing something with the kids that I just don't care about, sometimes we've gone bowling and the kids go bowling and they love it. And I'm not bowling because we did this whole kids bowl free thing and it's just them. And sometimes I'll bowl with them, sometimes I won't. But one day I was like, oh my gosh, I have to plan this content. And I didn't have any other time to do it except for whenever they were bowling. I took this, look, you can see my outline, how to grow an email list with a podcast. Okay, like I have literally what's good for a hosting site. I do it here in this notebook and then I move it to my Google Docs. So there's all kinds of ways that you can do that. You do whatever works for you. So that's okay. So the first 3 steps, the first is decide how often you're going to publish an episode. The next is take all of your ideas and put them in an editorial calendar like Trello. The third one is actually plan your episodes, the outlines. And then the fourth one is you have to stick to your calendar. You have to stick to your calendar. You don't say, I just didn't really get enough done this week. And I'm going to push back. Let's say you normally publish on Tuesday. I'm just going to do it on Wednesday. No one will notice. What if, this is a great analogy because I love this show. And y'all know, if you know this show, you know that they never change the day of the week that it comes out, okay? Actually, there's several of them. But how many of you have watched Grey's Anatomy forever? Or Scandal, or How to Get Away with Murder, or all the other Shonda Rhimes shows, right? What day of the week do they come out? They come out on Thursday. They have come out on Thursday for I don't even know how many years. Like, I have watched Grey's Anatomy since the beginning and I love that show and it comes out on Thursday. But what if they said, you know what? We didn't really get around to it. We're just gonna put it out on Saturday. No one will notice. And I know that is a big stretch, comparing your podcast to a multi-million-dollar TV show, but I want you to think of your podcast as like, I want you to take it that serious because that's how your audience, like, what if you just stop showing up? You want someone to notice. You don't want to have the mentality and the mindset of, oh, no one's going to notice. Whatever. I want to know that if I didn't, for whatever reason, get to publish one day, that one of my listeners would say, oh my, like they would message me and say, Crystal, are you okay? Like, what's happening? Like, is everything all right? And I know that sounds silly, but it's true. Like, I want someone to notice if I don't show up because that means I'm making an impact. That means that I'm actually affecting someone's life. That means that I am actually accomplishing the mission that I set out to do, like accomplish my why, which is to help people just like you. It's to help you start, launch, and market your podcast. And I know, like, on the surface level, that sounds kind of, oh, okay, it's a good mission. But y'all, this is so much fun for me. I am having the time of my life talking about podcasting. Like, y'all, 31 days. Do you know how long it took me to come up with 31 ideas? Maybe 15 minutes. Maybe. Like 31 ideas in 15 minutes. Like, think about that. That's like more than 2 per minute. Like, I love this stuff. I live it. I breathe it. I'm constantly talking to people and interacting about podcasting. So I want you to be that excited about your podcast. Like, I feel like I'm setting the bar. We are not going to accept mediocre podcasts around here. And by that, I mean, you don't have to have the fanciest equipment. You don't have to have the best sound quality out in the world. Like, oh my gosh, I have to have the best, or I can't do it. No. You just have to produce content with your heart into it. And you have to know that you are doing this to provide value to your audience. Otherwise, what are you doing this for? Actually put in the comments, like, what are you doing this for? Why are you creating this podcast? Why do you want to start a podcast? Why, have you been showing up here? I know there's been several of you that have come to almost every day of, doing these podcast live streams. And I'm so appreciative, but I want to know what's going to keep you going, because there are going to be times when it does suck and you can't think of ideas and you don't want to keep going. And you're thinking, I just don't even know, like, would anybody even notice if, I stopped doing my podcast? And if they don't, then maybe it's not for you. Maybe it's not something that, you're as passionate about it as I am, but I hope that you are. Because y'all, we have such an opportunity to make a really, really big difference on this type of platform, and to make really deep connections with people and help them in ways like, y'all, I've listened to podcasts and cried. I've listened to podcasts and laughed my butt off, like on the treadmill, running in the gym, like, start laughing. And then I kind of look around and notice, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I was just in my own little world listening to this podcast. And that's what I want my listeners to feel. So sorry, I just totally went on a rant, like on my soapbox. I'm stepping down. So Melanie says, Asana also has a view of tasks that put them into a Kanban list style as well. Oh, she said she doesn't use it that way though. I'll have to look into that, because I'm in love with the Kanban system and how it all works. It just visually makes more sense to me than Trello. Like Trello is really good for just lists and like columns, like categories, but I like the project management style of Asana. So I'll have to look into that. But if you're watching this on the replay, I would love it if you put in the comments, why are you wanting to start a podcast if you haven't already? If you already have a podcast, why are you doing this? I really want to know. And that's all I have for y'all. Oh, I feel winded now because I just like totally, my heart's beating. I'm like, I was on my pulpit and I'm just like, yes, we can do this. We can do this together. So I hope you found today's episode helpful. I know that planning content, it's hard. Like, I think it's one of those concepts where a lot of you just struggle with it. And the reason why I say it's hard is because it is a mindset, because we want to give our audience so much value, but we also don't know, like, okay, well, how much is too much? And you don't want to give it all away, but you want to give some of it away, but you want to do this, you want to do that. Like, I hope that today's episode really helped you just kind of have a different approach to it. Don't overthink it too much. I would just concentrate on the basics when you're first getting started, and then just go from there and really listen to your audience, because the more you do this, people are going to tell you, hey, we want to hear more about this. Or, you'll hear questions, can you talk about this other thing? Or, have you seen anybody else try this? Like, I can't even tell you. Well, I get content ideas from everywhere now. And I think it's just the fact, it's almost like a snowball effect. The more you podcast, the more ideas that you'll have, and the more opportunities you'll have to talk to amazing people. That's another thing, is interviews are so key to a podcast. And I think that it's just such a fun aspect. So if you have a solo show, I would urge you to consider doing interviews, because they're a lot of fun too. So that's all I have to talk about today with planning content. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you haven't already, I urge you to subscribe to the show so you don't miss out on any of the other fun things that we're talking about. And if you haven't already, please leave us a review in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is that you're listening to this episode. I would really appreciate it, because that just helps this show get in front of more people. But that does it for today. So if you want to see the video that is all about everything we talked about today, go to crystalprofit.com/episode 81. And sign up for the 5-day Create Your Podcast Bootcamp if you haven't already. It's going to help you just get started if that's the stage that you're in. And remember, Profit Podcasting is only open for a few more days. So check out profitpodcasting.com and join us in the digital course because we're just going to have so much fun. But remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere. Hey, Profit Podcast listeners. Thanks for sticking around to a little bit after the episode to hear this special message because I want to hear from you. We are starting a new segment called Fan Mail Shoutouts, and I want to hear from you and I want to hear your questions. What do you want to know? What questions have you been dying to ask me? So here's how to make this happen. Go to the app where you're listening to this podcast right now. Go there. I'll wait a second. Okay. Now, once you're there, you're going to see a hyperlink at the top of the episode description that says, send Crystal a text message. And that's all I want you to do. Send me a text. It could be casual, informal. It could be totally anonymous. Or if you want, you can include your name and the name of your podcast or content wherever you are creating, and I will give you a special shout out in an upcoming episode. So again, go to the show notes for where you're listening to this episode right now, and it will say, send Crystal a text message. And I cannot wait to hear from you and give you a shout out in an upcoming segment of Fan Mail Shoutouts.